Welcome, Vault Dwellers. My name is Nacho Bidness, and this is episode 24 of my Fallout 4 No Loot Challenge Run. The rules are fairly simple. I am not allowed to use the A button here on Xbox to take anything out of the world or pick up anything out of a container. Notable exceptions are crops in my own settlements. I am playing on survival mode, and I need something for my character to eat, and we also need something to barter with for the junk that is necessary to play the game. You joined me mere moments after I signed off from the last episode at Kingsport Lighthouse, and we are ready to make kind of our final push to the Museum of Witchcraft. As for why I am going to the Museum of Witchcraft, I have just an awful lot of quests in my quest log, and is that disarmed? Okay. I can disarm mines, I just can't pick them up. I have an awful lot of quests in my quest log, and I have been basically just attempting to work from the bottom to the top, from the oldest to the newest, and more or less been crossing things off as either completing the quest or it ends up being some kind of fetch quest or something that requires me to pick something up. And we've gotten this far. There is a long way to go, although many of these I either already know without having attempted or I have attempted them already. At any rate, our mission today is the Museum of Witchcraft. And to get there, I seem to remember, I looked at the map earlier, and I need to take a left here and then take a right at the next intersection on the road. And, one more thing before I leave here. I decided to drop a save when I was leaving, and I had reduced immunity because I had taken a rat away, and what do you know, I got sick. And it is kind of a bad one. Weakness. Take 20% extra damage. I am going to have to be extremely careful and only sleep when absolutely necessary on the way out of here. But I don't think that it would be wise to proceed with having weakness. And why am I not getting hydrated from my water pump? I kind of need this to work, because if it doesn't, I am in a bad way when it comes to water. Okay, well, I know what else we can do. We can go into furniture and miscellaneous, assuming the game doesn't crash, and get ourselves a water fountain from the Vault-Tec DLC. We'll just get a drink out of this instead. And it also occurs to me that there's probably one other thing that I can do to help my chances here. And that is, so as I explained last time, I'm running fairly low on ammo. I'm running low on water and food. Let's set up a trade caravan post. If we're lucky, when we come back through here, maybe there will be a trader that we can use to help improve our chances of being able to get back to civilization, which in this case is going to be pretty much any of my allied settlements. They're all quite far away. This is the first time I've been to this part of the map and have not had a chance to set up any supply lines or anything over here yet. So is this the road that I needed to get onto to... Yes, this is the road. I tell you, if you have never played on survival mode and just, had to try and use roads and other landmarks to navigate, it adds a new dimension to the gameplay and can be a lot of fun. And I would normally cut a walk like this out of the episode, but since we have made so much of getting to this location after so many episodes, we got sidetracked by Kate and then getting strong, and yeah, it has been at least 6 or 7 episodes since I announced my intentions to come up here. So finally, we are here. And there we go. I was going to say, I'd like for the location to actually unlock. I hear distant gunfire. I just saw the flash of light from when a car explodes. I have no idea what's going on or where that is coming from. And I guess, ultimately, I kind of don't care. There's actually 2 quests that are in my log for this, so actually I might as well go ahead and get both of them active just to have the quest markers up. So where is investigate the Museum of Witchcraft? So that's that one, and that is going to lead us to this holotape that we cannot pick up, we cannot listen to. So I am curious if that means if we don't pick up this holotape, does that mean that there is not going to be a Deathclaw inside the museum? Because we have not kind of, done the event trigger, as it were. And I just heard a legendary super mutant, and I am very close to my next level. Would a legendary super mutant... He would like to wear my guts, so we'll take this guy out and see if we can find his buddy. It's got to be around here somewhere. There we go. And I would like to use a critical on this guy, but I have a fight with Deathclaw that is coming up very soon that I probably should not be using up my critical because there's not enough other enemies around here to grind it up on. So let's see if we can kind of get behind him, and now that he's mutated, see if we can get a couple of headshots on him. That's doing good work, and we can just maybe get just one more shot. Is that enough? Not quite. Switch over to my pistol and see if we can finish him off with the... Oh. Never mind, Strong did it for us. Thank you, Strong. Alright. Yeah, 3 full clips for this gun, and that's it. And we've got to make this last all the way back to Hangman's Alley, or at least some town that we can use to buy some ammo. Of course, we've got, these ominous shaking and footsteps, so I guess Deathclaw has, in fact, spawned in here, even though we did not pick up that holotape outside. No reason to rush through here and alert the Deathclaw to our presence. But I'm trying to remember where the stairs are to... Why am I stuck in a corner? Strong, I know you're scared, but you don't need to dry hump me quite so badly. Somewhere around here there are some stairs that we can use to get up to the next level. here we are. Look at the dramatic music strike. This was pretty dramatic the first time I played it. Nowadays, not so much. Just know that we've got a Deathclaw in tight quarters, and that is always a challenge. So, more gunners and more great loot that I wish I could take, but I can't. And I've fallen down to the basement. Oops-a-daisy. But it looks to me like we're probably not going to be able to complete this quest that we came all the way up here for. Because we have a quest marker here. And it is... Alright. Can I read this without taking it? Yes. Alright. So... I think this is from the Creation Club. I don't know exactly what this quest is for. We'll find out. Mary picked up the note. It was kind of shocked seeing her name there. Not that there wasn't a reasonable explanation for it. It could just be she misread the page. Could be the museum had her spooked, or some other Wastelander has shared the name Mary, and the note was meant for her. Whatever the reason, Mary decided to keep reading. Why the hell not? There's no guarantee the words on the page are referring to her. It's only a paper mirror, a reflection made of words on a page. Besides, the only way to know for sure was to keep reading to the end. But even then, having read the page and learned her future, there was no reason to take the words seriously. At some point, she would go back outside and wander the wasteland again, and perhaps even forget about the note altogether. Eventually, those travels would bring her to the Dugout Inn in Diamond City. Of course, Mary wasn't there on business. She just wanted to relax. But as she walked into the inn amidst the glow of neon, something to the right caught her eye. Posted on the wall was a bounty for a killer named Zane. Somebody wanted him dead. Well, we've got ourselves a spooky note that is written in the first person for our own characters. So isn't that all very interesting? And unfortunately, we have been led on a long goose chase all the way out here, and I wish I could pick up that Grog magazine, only to not be able to. Well, actually, I was going to say sorry, Deathclaws make me nervous. I lost my train of thought there. Anyways, we came a long way up here only to be directed back to Diamond City, but for now we have to survive this guy. The good news is that with a 4x sneak multiplier, it goes down easy peasy. Awesome. Making it look easy. Frankly, that was, I think, more dumb luck than anything else, but I'm going to take it. So, yeah, there's a great story here, in my opinion, about how some gunners accidentally picked up Deathclaw Mother's eggs, and yeah, that quest just activated. But we are not going to be able to complete that for sure, because we cannot pick up the holotape that kicks this thing off. So one more quest added to the log, but one more quest that we simply cannot do. Still, I am excited that the quest for the paper mirror has not been immediately locked out. That was kind of a pleasant surprise. As far as this door goes, strong sound, some kind of way to teleport outside. Not sure how he managed to do that. the start of this has actually gone so incredibly well that I am very tempted to head into town here and see if I can't activate a quest with a local. But I think we're going to have to save that for another day. Discretion is the better part of valor, and we have, from the lighthouse, we have a long way back before we can get to any place that is going to be friendly and possibly have some bullets for sale. I think, is Bunker Hill the closest? It could maybe make for Ten Pines Bluffs or Outpost Zamanja, but even if I get there after I have to cross all of this previously unexplored territory, there are no vendors there. So I think that the right decision is going to be try to head for Bunker Hill. I know that I could potentially head for Covenant, but I've been frankly putting that off. I wanted to try and cross some quests off out of the log before I started adding more by going over to Covenant. So I will I am going to go back to the lighthouse, drop a save, and I will start trying to make my way to Bunker Hill, and I'll hit record again if anything interesting happens. Well, I got overconfident because I was retracing my steps, and I got ambushed by a pack of wild dogs. And that's not so good. I was nearly killed. Health is very low. But the good news is that we have run into Doc Anderson. And although I don't have anything to trade with him,
I soaked up some rads out there.
I have enough caps on me that I can top off my medical supplies, and I can also afford to have him cure my radiation and my health. And that is a big relief. If he is also carrying a little bit of purified water, I think we are going to be in excellent shape to make it back to Bunker Hill, where we're almost sure to encounter somebody that can sell us some bullets.
All done.
So, Doc, what have you got in your inventory?
Better care of yourself in the future.
I do wish that the UI with these characters was a little bit better. Didn't really want or need to exit the conversation, but here we are. Anyways, what do you got, Doc? You ain't got any of the bullets that I need, and you don't have, let's see, do you have any junk no, nothing that I particularly want or need right this minute. You do have some antibiotics, and I am out of those, but shoot, before I barter with you, let's go ahead and put on our pretty dress and our hat and glasses, and maybe put a little wiggle on for this guy and get some better prices.
I need some supplies, Doctor.
You got the caps? I got them.
So, yeah, that's a big improvement from 140 to 100 on the antibiotics. He has purified water. I will take all the purified water he has got. What else am I out of or running low on? I'm out of Radaway, so I am going to buy a couple doses of Radaway, and I am doing okay on stim packs. I don't tend to use a lot of stim packs because more often than not, if I get injured, I go straight from getting injured to getting killed. So just no need to have tons of stim packs. Nevertheless, this has been a very good, lucky, random encounter on the road. And I think that means that the rest of the trip to Bunker Hill is going to be a piece of cake. We'll see if I'm right. I'll join you when I'm there, or if something else should happen to happen. Strong and I have made it back to Bunker Hill without further incident, and I did spend the night, or at least as much of the night as my character would sleep, but you can't get a good night's sleep on just a dirty mattress, which is all that's available from the hotel around here.
Not with my caravan, so don't bother.
Unless there is something that is just a complete can't live without it sort of thing here in Deb's inventory, we're probably not going to buy anything just because we are so close to home that we've got surely enough ammo and food and water to make it at least back to Hangman's Alley. So the only things that we're really looking for here are some oil, which we can make out of bone, and any bottles that we might be able to find, because it's just frankly cheaper to buy a bottle than it is to buy purified water. And oil is always my rarest resource because I use so much of it in setting up turrets. I would rather have my settlers on crop duty and scavenge duty than have them defending the settlement. Plus, frankly, turrets do a better job than a guy with a pipe pistol. So we're a couple bottles here, but otherwise nothing that is really standing out to me. I'll pick up some circuitry as well. And that's it. Oop, not cancel. Go ahead and buy it.
Hey,
So,
no offense.
while we're here, we can also go ahead and take a look at perks. Eventually, I would like to get the other rank of Cap Collector, but it's not a necessity right now. Heck, I don't even have all of the stores in Hangman's Alley, and even if I do run them all out of caps, I can always have Diamond City nearby between the two. It's just unlikely that when all I'm selling is crops, that I'll be able to run them out of caps. I'd like to get another rank of science, but I don't have an immediate need for it. Same with a lot of the things here on the luck tree, and even with Action Girl, it's something I'd like, but the most important thing I think I can do right now is try to increase my damage output as a sniper, and that means taking another rank of perception so that I will eventually be able to get Penetrator unlocked. And so that's what we're going to do there. Otherwise, I don't think that there's going to be much to do or see on the west of the way to Hangman's Alley, unless there are maybe some enemies on this bridge. Are those gunners? Those are, in fact, gunners. Let's just see if we can take these guys out at long range. And I'm missing rather pathetically, but that's okay. We got the first two guys down and kind of got lucky with a vast shot on the third. Otherwise, there should not be anything that stands between me and my triumphant homecoming at Hangman's Alley, except for potentially if the raiders outside of Backstreet Apparel have spawned. If they have, it is one guy that I can take out with a sniper shot and two turrets. Not interesting. So I'll see you after we have kind of restocked our inventory, picked crops at a couple of settlements, and gotten some caps together, refilled our ammo, and are kind of ready to take the next step on our trip to figure out what's going on with this paper mirror quest. We're back in Hangman's Alley, and Mary is dressed up for a night on the town. But before we do that, let me kind of give you a little idea of what we've been up to. We have gone to a couple settlements, picked some crops, and although we don't have a ton more caps than we had before, we do have about 1,000 extra caps from where we were previously. We also have, since we're in the inventory menu here, we have kind of stocked up on our consumables. We've got plenty of water and food, and we even have some meat that we can go ahead and cook while we're here in the settlement. And also got ourselves some jet ready to sell the next time we find ourselves another vendor. We also have an overdue book. I wish I'd thought to hit record when I found it, but I found this in the Vaultec reps inventory for trade. And that's good news. I was thinking that I probably would not be able to collect these things, and if I can collect enough of them, I will be able to get a second magazine, because there is these overdue book tokens, and if you get enough of them and you go to the terminal at the main library, there is a magazine that you can buy. So that's good news. We've also got ourselves quite a bit more 308 ammo. However, you may notice that I have sold off what little was left of my fusion cells, because it is time to retire the Old Faithful. It has not been keeping up and just doesn't do enough damage, and often enough, Strong or something else manages to get a first shot in, so the instigating isn't activating all that often. So it's time to let her go. So let's get on this weapon rack and say goodbye to Old Faithful. It was certainly very useful for a time, and I'm not sorry that we bought it, but it is time to let that one rest in peace in our gun closet. We're still over encumbered, so Strong, we are going out for some drinking and some dancing. Let's not worry about carrying our armor right this minute. You can't fit into it, but you can at least hold it for us. And before I forget, why don't I go ahead and cook that meat, and we can make ourselves a roast with this. Now, how Mary is going to carry a roast in that dress, I don't know. I don't know about you, but when I cook a roast, it's usually in a roasting pan or a crock pot. But now we have a roast somewhere. Anyway, let's take a jog over to Diamond City, because it's been a while and Mary's feeling good. Feels like having a night out, and she's also been instructed by this note in the Museum of Witchcraft that she should go hang out in Bobrof's, and we're going to see what happens when we get there. So here we are at the dugout, and I'm kind of hoping that maybe there'll be some kind of NPC or something associated with this quest. But the quest marker seems to be leading us here, and that's not great. Bounty where we keep what we kill for super mutants. Okay. And wanted in Concord. Anyone with guts in need of caps? Well, that's Mary. Wastelander named Zane has put together a gang that has been terrorizing the area near Concord. He should be considered armed and dangerous. Keep what you kill. Well, I mean, not great, since we don't loot, but I suppose that also means that there's not going to be an NPC to interact with here. Which is too bad. Mary's not really ready to do anything serious yet, but it's been 6 months, and she's been healing and is kind of in the mood to, maybe do some dancing or something, but it doesn't look like we're going to get an opportunity. So let's at least have some booze to take advantage of where we're at. And let's see, is Mary a beer girl or is she a whiskey girl? I'm going to say that Mary's a whiskey, but not just straight whiskey. We're going to at least pretend that she's going to have herself a nice cocktail, an old-fashioned maybe, rather than just basically, taking belts of whiskey off of a dirty 200-year-old bottle. She's a little classier than that, but yeah, it looks like there's just not much other than reading another note for this quest. I'm a little disappointed. I shouldn't be surprised. I don't think any of the Creation Club stuff adds any kind of voice acting to it. One other thing that we can do while we're here is Paul Pembroke has been trying to talk to us, and I have avoided him up until now. Just every time I see him coming, I try to go the other way, but let's at least talk to him for now.
I still need to ask you something.
All right. Well, I'm listening.
I'm listening.
You were in the tap house before, and
Well, you got in a fight.
You and the bartender got in a fight.
nice of you to call it a fight, but we both know what really happened. Cook kicked my ass. I'm supposed to pretend I don't know he's sleeping with my wife, until he decides he's bored with her and she comes crawling back home to me.
I don't know. I don't think that Mary is quite ready to go involving herself in other people's marital troubles. So,
A sad story.
yeah,
Nothing
that's
to do with me.
No,
that's not to do with us.
I'll pay you. I've got some money and I can get some more. I'm going to go back and talk to him, and I want you to come with me. You saw? He won't take me seriously otherwise. I don't want to have to really hurt him. I just want him to leave Darcy alone.
So I know that this is a quest that potentially I could complete, but I also know that the next step of this is going to involve ambushing some people
It's fine.
and robbing them. And like that's what Cook is going to want us to do, and that's not Mary's style. And I don't think
Not
that I'm
interested.
interested in
You'll have to solve your own problems.
getting involved with this guy.
I don't know why I expected you to help me.
Sorry, Paul. I think that you need to sort your problems with your wife and not with Cook. Can't approve of a man making the moves on someone else's wife, and yet she didn't shut him down, and it takes two to tango. So we're going to walk away from that one. And this is more of a role play decision than a no looting decision, but I think it's the right one for Mary's character. Let's go back to Hangman's Alley, sleep this whiskey off, and see about trying to go take care of Zane in Concord. We are on approach to our quest objective, and I have to admit that I already know what's going to happen here because I recorded it once and the footage was corrupted, which is not great, but it does mean that I am going to be able to do something all in one go that took me a couple of tries last time, because what we find out when we come into the Concord Speakeasy is that Zane is already dead. And if we look carefully, we see that we've got Zane's story, which I would not normally pick up or loot, but because I'm going to be loading a save, and because I want to show this entire paper mirror quest and story because it is interesting. We're going to go ahead and pick that up here in a second. For now, we can look at this table here and we see this handwritten note that says, "It will betray you too." Interesting. And thankfully, we can read this note, which advances the quest without actually taking it, which is great. So, Zane's associates, we have sent Silas to the Fated Laundromat on business. Sorry, the Fated Glory Laundromat on business. Connor, the asshole that stole that anti-material rifle we got from the Gunners. I know it. I heard he's starting a new crew near Green Tech Genetics. Gonna have to pay him a visit. And Ivy, almost forgot about her. Probably still waiting at Prost Bar. Now, we've been to Prost Bar, actually, as part of another busted Creation Club quest where we were trying to get a key for a player home that was Nuka-Cola themed. So I'm guessing that when we get back to Prost Bar now, that Ivy will have spawned. In the meantime, we have Zane's story to read. And it's pretty interesting. Because what it says here is the bounty on Zane's head had grown to 1,000 caps. That's how notorious he'd become. But he knew that it didn't matter how expensive the bounty got or how many hunters came after him. All he had to do was flip the book ahead and read the next chapter of his story. It told him everything he needed to know. He knew where the attackers were coming from and when they'd arrive. The mirror showed him everything. But every time he turned a page, it brought him closer to the end. Now there were no more pages left. Someone was coming for him. Someone bad. And no amount of preparation would help him survive. At first, Zane refused to believe it. He tore out the page in anger and slammed it on the table. When the time came, he would prove the mirror was a lie. He'd bunker down in the old Concord speakeasy and kill whatever son of a bitch came walking through that door. But when he read the words and discovered the hunter had a mirror of their own, he knew there was no escape. He was going to die tonight, and his friends would soon follow. The only measure of satisfaction he could get was to kill himself before the bounty got here first. So he sat down and took out the vodka, the one he'd been saving for after he got out of the Commonwealth. He popped it open, took a sip, and with his other hand, he pulled the trigger. And sure enough, there is a vodka bottle near one hand and a 10mm pistol near the other. Gotta admit, this story is starting to creep me out a little bit. This is unique and much better than the usual things that we get out of Creation Club. I'm enjoying it very much, and I am looking forward to seeing what happens when we encounter Zane's associates. In the meantime, I have got to load that save that I was talking about because we're in the neighborhood of Sanctuary, and I have some business to attend to there. There's a couple things that I want to take care of here in Sanctuary, and I'm sure that you're all interested in what I have in store for Mama Murphy. But first, we bought a dog last episode. We bought a friend for dog meat, but we have this awkward situation where we have too many people in Starlight Drive-In, and I am currently at Charisma 11 with my best Charisma gear on, and I transferred someone out of Starlight, which gets it down to 21 people there, and I need an extra point of Charisma in order to transfer Dogmeat's new girlfriend down there. Hopefully, we can get ourselves some puppies. So we'll drink a beer, and that'll get our charisma up to 12, and hopefully that means that, yes, we can move the junkyard dog to Starlight Drive-In. And the guy that sold her to us specifically mentioned that it was a her. So, yeah, who knows? I have no idea if that's even a thing or not, but I think it'd be cool if we came to Starlight and maybe there were some puppies or even some extra full-grown dogs around, that maybe were, perhaps born off screen and are just there. So we'll see. In the meantime, Mama Murphy, you have been sitting in this sleep deprivation chamber for literally weeks. Have you completely lost your mind yet? I mean, there's no sleep, no food. I imagine it's probably pretty hot in there. Are you ready to tell everybody about what you did to us?
When I was a young woman, always getting myself into trouble.
You. Hi.
Come back for the site? I need Med X this time. Another cam, another window to look through.
No, we're not giving you more chems, especially not right now. And clearly she is still crazy and still not ready to admit to what she did to Mary. So, if sleep deprivation hasn't worked, and if getting launched out of a junk mortar hasn't worked, and high-speed delivery of drugs to the face hasn't worked, well, maybe we can try something else. Let me do some building, and we'll see if we can't persuade Mama Murphy to, as I said, admit what she's done and maybe apologize. Let me get back to you in a minute after we have constructed our next little contraption for her. It is a beautiful afternoon here in Sanctuary Hills, and if all of our other methods of trying to get Mama Murphy to admit what she did and apologize don't work, maybe this one will. I mean, we've tried sleep deprivation, but we haven't tried just uninterrupted, constant pain. And so that's what we're going to go ahead and try now. It's getting extreme, but so far she hasn't cracked. So we've got this hopper that is dropping these steel balls out of it. And those steel balls, if you pick them up in your inventory, weigh about 18 pounds a piece. And we've got a couple of elevators from that conveyor, and they come up here, and we just have a steady stream of these 18-pound steel balls coming out here and bonking Mama Murphy in the head. Sooner or later, she's going to crack. I just know it. I did have to try and put... oh, my batteries are low. I did have to try and put these roofs around to try and form a funnel for the steel balls, and even so, I've slept a couple times while I was building this and still found steel balls kind of scattered all over the place. So I am not sure if this thing will run reliably for weeks at a time without my attendance, but we're just going to leave this going, and when we come back, Mama Murphy's either going to be dead or crack. Like I said, I'm just sure of it. In the meantime, I have put up a caravan post here, and that's been handy to have around, but it is time to move on and go see about some of Zane's associates in association with the quest, the Paper Mirror. I think the first will probably be at the laundromat, and I will join you there. We are standing just outside the laundromat in Lexington, and this was kind of interesting because I had forgotten that I never really did tradecraft. Like, we had to load a prior save because we got stuck on that quest. And that means that I had to go in and kill all the synths and turrets in this Slocum's Joe again. And I am very curious now what would happen if I tried to do tradecraft now, because there is somewhere around here, yeah, way up there, there's a tourist for the railroad that is going to be maybe not so worried about all the synths in Slocum's Joe now. I don't know. I'm kind of curious what would happen if I tried it now. Regardless, we're going to go in here and let's get our pistol out, because it's going to be close quarters inside here, and see if Zane's associate is still alive or if the paper mirror has taken care of him too. Nope, Silas still alive. So we'll just take a ton of shots at his head, and so far, okay, I was going to say so far missed every one of them, but finally got him down. And that is one quest completed, and nothing else here. Apparently we just had to come in and murder this guy. I am curious about Silas's story. Is there a bed anywhere in here where I could save? Alright, I got a save down, and popped back in here so that I can take a look at Silas's story. I am definitely enjoying the text parts of this quest. So Zane handed Silas the pages that pertained to him and told him to head out to Lexington. They'd been stashing the bodies in the old Washington machines for weeks now. Silas nodded his head reluctantly. Truth is, he didn't want anything to do with whatever voodoo was in that book. The thing spooked him enough just by having his name in it. But what spooked him even more was when they found the book, some of the pages were missing. Assuming that, of course, the missing pages are the ones that have to do with our good friend Mary. And yeah, what do you know? We find a dryer with a complete set of bones. You could build a whole skeleton out of this, couldn't you? So yeah, unfortunate for whoever that was. Anyway, we are ready to go ahead and try and move on. Where is our next person going to be? It's going to be, oh gosh, it's a ways. We're going to be all the way over in just down the road from the CIT ruins in Bunker Hill. So if memory serves, that's kind of a mini mall that is a fairly large dungeon that didn't have anything in it in the base game. I'm going to load my save, and I'll join you there. So, a couple of bits of bad news. I had my footage corrupted again while I was recording to show approaching this little raider base and getting Zane's associate Connor killed. And that is not happy. I've had so many problems lately with corrupted footage. I think that it may be time to consider buying a replacement for my Elgato capture card. And that's sad. Also sad, we are not going to be able to complete this quest because one of our quest objectives is to pick up this anti-material rifle, and that's off limits. So we're going to come darned close to finishing this quest, like many others, but yet another piece of Creation Cup content that we are not going to get to cross off of our quest log, and that is sad. It's also sad because penetrating is actually a pretty good legendary effect for anti-material rifle. I would have liked to have had this. Still, I think that since we have gone this far in the quest, that I feel justified in buying an anti-material rifle from a vendor. I have seen them available in some vendor inventories. And since we have a save down, we've got a save in a dirty mattress right across the way there. Let's go ahead and read Connor's story. Although I am disappointed that we are not going to be able to complete this quest, I have enjoyed the pieces of the paper mirror book that we have. So, Connor ripped the pages from the book one night when Zane was sleeping. He knew the boss hadn't gotten to that part yet, or else Connor would be dead. The truth was, he'd been thinking of killing Zane for weeks now. He was talking nonsense about retiring, going to Far Harbor with some girl he met at a bar. Connor knew Zane was full of shit, but he also knew he was getting soft. That's why he built a little hideout near Green Tech Genetics in the tall building by the river. When the time was right, he'd set up base there and start his own crew with Zane's money and his gun. And what a gun it was. It was called an anti-material rifle, and it ate through power armor like a hot knife through butter. Zane had no use for it. The only reason he had it was because of that book. So it was only right for Connor to use the same book to relieve him of the burden. So we have another associate of Zane's and another piece of the puzzle. We are going to go ahead and complete the circuit of Zane's former associates and go across the river and see what the final piece of the book has to say. I'll join you after I load a save and get a little closer to that other associate. We are at Boston Common, just outside of the Prost Bar. I have already dropped a save over at the combat zone. That's the closest place I can think of where I was certain that there would be a bed, and I have caught insomnia for my trouble. At least that's not a really awful disease. So let's see what has happened to the last of Zane's associates. Of course, as we've covered in our previous trip here, where we were not able to pick up the new Cafe Ola key, this is a recreation of the Cheers set, and that would be probably Dr. Fraser Crane sitting there, and probably Woody tending bar, along with Cliff and Norm over here. But it looks like our friend is in the back, and she is awake and hostile, and yet not aware of us. So we'll just pop her in the head before she has any chance to react, and let's take a look at probably the failed optional to exit the bar and spare Ivy. Interesting. Okay, I might come back and take another shot at this. So let's look at Ivy's story. Ivy knew she had to run. She had to get far away from the Commonwealth to a place where she could start over. She didn't mean to kill him. What happened was an accident. He told her he'd done this before, that he had experience with chems. It didn't dawn on her until later he was just trying to impress her. The problem was she hadn't heard from Zane in weeks. They had met only a month earlier at a bar in Goodneighbor. He said he was a smuggler. When she told him her story, he sympathized with her. He even promised to help her get to Far Harbor for a price. Something about him scared her, but she was desperate to leave and didn't know any other way. So she decided to believe him. The plan was to meet here at the Prost Bar. Perhaps, if she just stayed in place, Zane would come for her. It was too dangerous outside, and there were enough rations in the bar to hold out for another week. She just had to be patient. Someone would come. Unfortunately for her, someone did. Well, that just makes me feel kind of bad. She was not really a raider at all. And so, you know what? Let's go ahead and rewind time a little bit and just see about what happens if we spare Ivy. So I am just kind of curious what happens. The end result is that Ivy is going to die because that's what happened on our first playthrough, and I want that to stand. But there is no clue that sparing her is even an option. I mean, nothing that we have read or seen in the quest so far indicated that she was not really a raider, other than there was kind of a throwaway thing in the story from Zane, as far as he wondered if Ivy was still at this bar. And aha, okay, so if you get close enough to her, she will beg for her life and ask you not to shoot her. So, okay, perhaps we were a little too violent, a little too soon, but she still shows up as hostile. Now that is an artifact of the game, after all. We don't, in the real world, magically know who's hostile and who's not. I wish that there was maybe a gray option sometimes, but what happens if we just leave the bar?
We got trouble!
And we are ambushed by bounty hunters. But that should not be too much of a problem for us. So we've taken them all out, and so there's these bounties. You know what? Since this isn't going to stand, let's take a look at this bounty and see what it has to say. Open notice to anyone with a lot of guts in need of caps. Wastelander named Mary has been terrorizing the area near Prost Bar. She should be considered armed and extremely dangerous. Keep what you kill. No other reward. Well, how do you like that? Strong? Are you fighting something? So yeah, a bounty with our name on it. That's not cool. And it looks like Ivy has flown the coop here. And this is the same note as before. Except it ends differently. Someone would come, and someone did. But while the hunter came to find a killer, something told her to stay her hand. It could have been pity for the young woman, or perhaps it was a desire to circumvent fate. Whatever the reason, Mary chose to do what few before her dared to do. She rejected the story that was written in the mirror and took her fate into her own hands. When the other hunters came, Mary fought them off. In that moment, Ivy saw her chance to escape. She knew of another exit, one where she wouldn't be followed. Potiphar wanted to stay to say thank you to the stranger for sparing her life, but she couldn't risk dying along with her. In the end, she left behind the pages of her mirror. Maybe that would be thanks enough. And you know what? I think it kind of is. So, I am actually going to run back and pick up that anti-material rifle just because I am so curious if there's any additional part to the story. But ultimately, yes, in our main universe where we are conducting our little challenge run here, we are going to end up with the anti-material rifle is left on the raider corpse, and that Ivy is going to be killed by Mary before she even has a chance to beg for her life. So we're almost there. Let's find out if there is any last bit to the paper mirror quest. I think it was well written until the last, really these last couple of text bits have not been as eerie as the first few were. But let's see if there's any final sting in the tail from this creator. And is that it? Are there any other quest objectives, or is the paper mirror complete? Paper mirror is complete, so I am a little disappointed that there was not some more foreshadowing or clues or anything as far as being able to spare Ivy, and I'm a little sad that there wasn't a final chapter in the paper mirror, either criticizing myself as the player for blindly following instructions, or if I had spared Ivy, congratulating the player for not being a chump, basically. A very interesting quest and an interesting creation, and almost completable under our rule set. The only thing that we really couldn't do was pick up that anti-material rifle, which is just too doggone bad. But that is really becoming par for the course on this run. So I think that this is quite enough for today, and so if you are enjoying this challenge run, then be sure to hit the like button. It does help my channel grow. And if you want to see more, you can subscribe and ring the bell, and you'll know the next time I drop another episode. Try to do these every week and release them on Sundays. If you didn't like, please tell me why in a comment so that I can try and do better for you next time. A dislike without context means that I don't know what it is that I should be working on to make better content for you guys. Until next time, my name is Nacho Bidness, and I'm saying it's a great big wasteland out there. Let's go have fun in it.